On the Hawkeye Sports Network from Learfield, this is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy, proud partner of the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Big Ten Conference. Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. Iowa's corn farmers of the Iowa Corn Growers Association and Iowa Corn Promotion Board. You may think Iowa grows corn, but the truth is, corn grows Iowa. Shields, we're right there with you in Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, and Cedar Falls. University of Iowa Healthcare, changing medicine, changing lives. This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Iowa Gymnastics has vaulted out of the blocks. The 18th-ranked Hawkeyes open their Big Ten dual meet schedule at Ohio State January 22nd. The Gymhawks home opener is January 27th with Minnesota. The season got off to a rousing start last weekend at the Super 16 meet in Las Vegas. Iowa posted a second-place finish to 11th-ranked Cal. That's the second highest season opener score in program history. Coach Larissa Libby joins us on this week's Fight for Iowa podcast, along with Hawkeye football's latest Hall of Famer, Robert Gallery. We'll get started after a word from sponsors Athletico, Iowa Corn, Shields, and University of Iowa Health Clinics.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
After a cancer diagnosis, it's natural to want to start treatment right away. But first, get a second opinion from a team that specializes in your cancer. I'm Dr. George Weiner, Director of University of Iowa Holden Comprehensive Cancer Center. Before you start treatment, you deserve to be confident you have the right diagnosis and know every option available to you. So whether it's with us or somewhere else, get a second opinion. It can change your care and your life.
Join Gary Dolphin and Bobby Hansen for Hawk Talk with Fran McCaffrey each week at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Coralville. Hawk Talk is 90 minutes of discussion about Iowa basketball. Check out HawkeyeSports.com for more information.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark Wahlberg, and I have some exciting news to share. At Wahlburgers, we are all about bringing the family together to enjoy a great meal and have a great time. That's why right now, for a limited time, kids eat free every day at all Hy-Vee Wahlburger locations. Kids 12 and under can enjoy one free kids meal with any purchase of an adult burger, sandwich, or entree salad.
Bring the family to Wahlburgers and the Wahlburgers and Hy-Vee stores, where right now kids can eat free.
Now back to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Iowa Gymnastics finished just behind Cal, but ahead of Arizona State and BYU at the Super 16 in Vegas. Veteran coach Larissa Libby has one of her deeper teams with a nice mixture of returnees, including juniors All-American Adeline Kenlin on the floor and Aubrey Nick on the balance beam. There's Michigan State transfer senior Linda Zivat, who tied for the vault title. Training started in September for the earliest season opener ever, but with the chance to experience such a prestigious event, it was well worth the effort, according to Libby.
Taking the gymnastics to the next level, and then the mental side of it, just like the competency and feeling confident presenting gymnastics that they know that they can do 150% of the time. And the depth there, yeah, we've always had pretty good depth, but the level at which that depth is tremendous this season, even to the point of throughout this competition, we were considering, do we bring this one in or we bring this one in? And it was such a hard choice. And I think any gymnastics coach will tell you they would rather have the hard choices than the easy ones, because that means there's more people to go to. So surprising and exciting all at the same time.
Hawkeyes finished behind 11th ranked Cal, but in front of Arizona State, and 24th ranked BYU with a solid point total. I noticed right away you placed in the top three in three events with senior Linda Zivat, Aubrey Nick, a junior, and junior Addie Kenlin. Of course, we're familiar with Addie and a few others, but talk about those three young women really serving as a boost to get the team off and running.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny how it all went around. We finished on vaults, and Linda is one of the last vaulters to go. So, you know, she didn't just win that event. She won it with a 9.925, which is almost a perfect score. So that's a fantastic start for the season, and to make the statement for her that, she is to be considered to be one of the best vaulters in the country. Obviously on beam, we have Adeline Kenlin, who's rock star there. She was second in the nation last year. But let's talk about the incredible, sweet story of our team, Aubrey Nick, who is a junior right now, but she walked on, and she is training 4 events and could possibly compete 4 events. And she competed 3 events here. She did a beautiful beam routine, and she scored a 9.9. And she does this kind of practicing where you're like, that kid is so great. She's so great. And she practices, and the work ethic behind it and her commitment to her team, she is the perfect human being, all rolled into one, always positive. So you always want to see something like that happen for those kids. 9.9 on her first beam routine this year. Could not be more excited for that kid. I mean, that was probably one of the most heartwarming things that happened the whole weekend. Besides it just being an overall great team performance, the little things that happened throughout, we had some falls, errors here and there. And Alexa Ebling, who's also is an Iowa native, at her first 9.85 and she was on beam, second up for us as well. She came after a fall. And so she is the one that got the run starting again. Just incredible all the way through. Exciting. And the unknown that's supposed to be scary was so very cool this time. Hoping that it continues on that way.
I'm sure it will. 8 gymnasts set career bests. 3 gymnasts tied career bests, and 3 Gym Hawks made their college debuts. And a lot of that depth occurred on the bars. You did well on the bars. Talk about that.
Yeah. And I think that this should probably be our best event this season. And we used a lot of different people on that event. And I will say for probably the most exciting, despite the fact that we had younger kids that have never been in the lineup, Kendall LaPlante is probably one of our strongest bar workers. She's a junior from Tampa, and just hasn't really trusted herself all this time. She has beautiful bars, and probably has one of the best swings in the country. And for the first time, she put it all together at the right time. And just to be there in the moment, her family was there. All these Hawkeyes from all over the place were there, and to put that little stamp on it in the beginning of the season to say, yes, I finally did it, just to see her have that little confidence boost. I mean, we all know that she can, but you want the kid to feel that. And
sure.
I'm so glad that it happened finally for her. And hopefully it'll just go up from there. That's the plan anyway. Really, the only focus is right now on gymnastics and resting and being a good teammate and figuring out everything that we need to figure out mentally, physically, so that once school starts, we'll be good to go.
Well said, and keep that great Iowa gymnastics tradition going. Coach Larissa Libby with us here on the Fight for Iowa podcast. Coach, thanks so much. We're going to hear from Iowa's latest Hall of Famer, Robert Gallery, when we return. I know you remember when he was tossing bodies, his own brand of gymnastics, when he was blocking people down the field. He's coming up next. In the meantime, good luck this weekend. Thanks so much for your time here on Fight for Iowa. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Gary.
Back in just a minute after this brief pause.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
We all love a good win. Catching up with friends, saving money at the pump, soaking up the perfect Iowa day, sitting down to a really, really good meal. These are the everyday delights that make us smile. These are the moments that connect us all as Iowans. And these are the wins that, more often than not, start with Iowa's farm families and the crop they're growing. Because when corn grows Iowa, Iowans win. Learn more about how to share your own wins at iowacorn.org/IowansWin.
You don't have to go to the game to get a game program. You can download it now by visiting the game day page on HawkeyeSports.com. That's right, the game program is now digital and it's free. So check it out. Get the roster, the stats, and fascinating stories about today's matchup. Just go to HawkeyeSports.com and click on Game Day.
Oh, you know that old injury of yours? The one in your knee or maybe back? Instead of going to the doctor and then doing physical therapy, why not start with therapy first? Athletico Physical Therapy is changing the whole healing process around. Their physical therapists will find the source of your pain and help fix it. Start with them and start living pain-free. Ah, just like that.
It all starts with Athletico Physical Therapy. Schedule your free assessment at athletico.com. No prescription needed. Proud partner of the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Now back to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
It's been 20 years since Iowa football's Robert Gallery was mauling opposing defensive linemen and linebackers. The All-American and Outland Trophy winner this week was named to this year's College Football Hall of Fame class. Man Mountain is from Masonville and prepped at Winthrop East Buchanan. The offensive tackle is the school's 11th player inductee to the Hall. Gallery arrived as a tight end his freshman year and grew into a 6'7", 323-pound blocker extraordinaire, earning unanimous consensus All-America status. Outland Trophy winner and Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. An academic All-Big Ten performer in the classroom, Gallery's Hawkeyes posted a 28-10 record his final 3 seasons. In the Big Ten championship year of 2002, the Hawkeyes were 11-2 overall, 8-0 in league play, and averaged 37 points a game with Heisman runner-up Brad Banks at quarterback. A member of the Iowa Letter Winners Hall of Fame and America Needs Farmers Wall of Honor at Kinnick Stadium, Gallery's name and number will be celebrated on the stadium press box, joining the likes of Niall Kinnick, Duke Slater, and Calvin Jones. Gallery opines everything seems to have come full circle.
You know, at this stage in my life too, you know, you're not caught up in pro career or the next thing. You know, it's kind of time to you can sit and enjoy it. And you look back at what we did as a team that led to me, you know, getting this award. It's you know, it's very humbling. I was kind of speechless. And then you look at the numbers, the number of guys that make it, you know, the number of guys that have made it from Iowa, just on and on. It is a very elite group, and it makes you appreciate, you know, how good I had it, you know, the coaching, my teammates, just the whole program in general, because that's none of this happens if you don't win. You know, winning makes everybody look good. So if you got a little talent, you can look even better. But it's yeah, I'm very honored, and it's still kind of settling in, and it's great to share with my family and just you know, reach that level. So it's kind of as my wife put it, it's kind of probably the last award of the college era that I can get. It's you know, the top one. So it's I'm very, very thankful.
Well, you've certainly got everything else. Outland Trophy, consensus All-American, all Big Ten Lineman of the Year. You know, as you reflect back on that time, Robert, you went from a guy or a kid not heavily recruited, not a ton of Division I offers coming out of East Buck and Winthrop, East Buchanan, but to a guy that is about as decorated as it can get.
You know, I've always looked at it that way. It was my upbringing from my parents, seeing my brothers and sisters have success in sports, and you know, it was always in the moment. It was always the next thing, right? It was great to get those awards, but you didn't really have time to enjoy it because you wanted to go to the next one, to get better, to keep working. And the thing I've told, you know, people that, you know, ask me about it, it wasn't easy. You know, I wasn't this, you know, super talented guy, you know, like you said, coming out of high school. You know, I was, you know, tall, had a good frame, had some potential, but it wasn't, you know, I wasn't handed anything, and it wasn't easy for me as it's not a lot of guys. I had to put a lot of work in. You know, some guys can go out, you know, put their shoes on out of bed and go out and just do it with ease. That wasn't me. I had to work at it. I work at it a lot and work at it often. And I think that's what's made me successful. That was ingrained from my parents and my brothers and sisters, and just, you know, that's why it's so special, because all the work I put in and the steps, and, you know, it was day after day of work when no one's looking, that helps you, you know, get to that level. And then obviously the team aspect, playing with those guys and that 2002 team. I look back at some of those names on there, and it's amazing that, that I'm here, but man, there's so many other guys that we were just a killer group back then. And it's fun to reflect on.
When I remember the names on that offensive line in particular, you mentioned the team in general, but Steinbach and Nelson and David Porter and Gallery, and
it was just thinking of that, and I thinking of the guys, Andy Lightfoot, Pete Traynor, Bruce Steinbach, Porter. There was 5-6 of us, and it was those were the guys, and it really was the start of what we had. Obviously we had some great backs, we had a great quarterback, but that up front group and learning from Coach Ferentz and Coach Philbin, and later on for me, Coach Morgan, it was it was just a great group of guys, great coaches, and the scheme that fit us. No one was super talented. Everybody went to work, and everybody became very successful.
Brad Banks, the Heisman Trophy runner-up, tremendous backs, wide receiver. I mean, you had all the components. But as you think back on a team that on an offense that averaged 37.5 points 20 years ago this year, what do you remember most about the offense? What made it so special?
I think it was just a group of guys that went to work. It wasn't our scheme wasn't fancy. We weren't tricking anybody. It was beat the guy in front of you, use the right technique, and work together. I think that's just, we took pride in just, running the ball. And that opened up the pass, but it was just a group of guys that like to work. There was no, I look back at it, there was no ego from anybody. It was, we came to work day after day. And I think that started because, that first year with Coach Ferentz, that it wasn't fun. 1 in 10 is not fun. You don't look good. No one looks good. So to go from that to what we became, it was just, guys, like I said, a guy was with no egos. No one that wanted the spotlight, needed the spotlight. Just everybody went to work, and we all really gelled well as a unit. When we got to the bowl games and the boring Big Ten offense, we couldn't hang with the other conferences. But that's fun. It's demoralizing for a defense when you just they know what you're going to do. They know we're going to run outside zone and inside zone, and we're going to do play action pass. It's not a secret. We're not going to trick you, and it's demoralizing for a defense and a defensive coordinator and an opposing head coach when they can't stop us. And that, I think, fueled us more than anything. It was like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Try and stop it.
And those are kind of the principles of Iowa football, not only then, but today, really.
Really, yeah, it hasn't changed. And that's one thing I look back and reflect on is, the consistency of Coach Ferentz, not only my career there, but that's super important with a group of young men to have success. You have the same coach, the same ideals, the same system, and we're not trying to trick people every year switching things up. It's been a staple of what Iowa is, and it's just how well guys gel together, how fast they pick it up together, and that unit for us, we spent a lot of time together and was able to really be successful as the time went on.
You get your name on the Ring of Honor inside the stadium. It's kind of come full circle, and yet you're the same humble human being that your folks raised in Winthrop. You're not too big for the moment, are you?
No, I think it's I'm very appreciative. I think if you knew what was going on inside our home here and inside my head, I am so as you said, when I heard that about the Ring of Honor, and that that stuff is humbling. It's I worked really hard for the things I accomplished. I had a lot of help along the way. But it's one of those things that I am super thankful for the people I got to work with, the friends I made, the teammates I had. But it is at this point in my life, now that things have slowed down, it is a very, very humbling award to get. It's something that I talk to my kids about, and like you said, to be able to look up there and see your name like that, that's there's nothing as an individual, there's nothing better than that. That's that's something you left your mark in one way or another, and man, am I proud of that, and proud of everyone that I got to play with and that coached me along the way. Those guys that I'm joining, Duke, Niall, Gordon, Aubrey, Cal, Alex, Randy, Chuck, Larry, and Andre, I'm very honored to follow in their footsteps. That is a very honored to have my name below those guys. So just those guys that are still with us, I hope they know how honored I am and the way that they've paid for guys like me.
Gallery was the number 2 overall pick in the 2004 NFL Draft by the Oakland Raiders. His 9-year career was often interrupted by injuries and position changes, thanks to 4 head coaches with differing offensive philosophies. Gallery never complained or winced. He just did his business. Congratulations, Hall of Famer. There was another Hawkeye on this year's ballot. Tight end Dallas Clark's day in the sun is yet to come. We'll wrap up the Fight for Iowa podcast in just a minute.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
Knowing that I can make a difference in my patients' lives keeps me motivated every single day. Hi, I'm Dr. Kanya Ferguson at University of Iowa Healthcare. With academic medicine, we see the toughest cases, so we're always innovating. And we bring the best minds together to collaborate, so there's more brain power focused on you. Because that leads to exceptional care for our patients and our community. See how at uihc.org.
Hawkeye fans, join Rob Brooks and Lisa Bluter each week from 6 to 7 for Hawk Talk at Bumps Restaurant, presented by Oak Knoll. View the season schedule at HawkeyeSports.com.
Hey, Hawkeyes fans, the wait is over. The Iowa men's and women's basketball teams are back on the court, and Shields has everything you need to cheer on your favorite players all season long. Take your game day gear to the next level. With Shields Fan Shop, we have an unmatched lineup of gear, including jerseys, hats, hoodies, and more to help you show off your team colors. So gear up, Hawkeyes fans, and celebrate all season with Shields, a proud partner of Iowa basketball and hoops fans everywhere.
Now back to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Congratulations to Iowa field hockey's Mia Magnotta, selected to the United States Under-21 Women's National Team by USA Field Hockey. The redshirt freshman is one of the elite goalkeepers. In 4 games, Magnotta has registered 10 saves and combined on a shutout. Magnotta will take part in the Junior Pan Am Championship selection camp come February. I'm Gary Dolphin. That's this week's Fight for Iowa podcast. Go Hawks!
You've been listening to the Fight for Iowa podcast. Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the Hawkeyes Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. Until next time, on Iowa, and go Hawks! The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.